Okay, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about how do I create a log writer in Python. I've done this before with C#. You can go back and check out this video if you're curious how do I do that in C#. We're going to do something really similar in this video, except it's going to be in Python, obviously. And this video did really well, so I thought why not continue on with this and do one in Python. So I've done something similar to this, or almost exactly like it actually, with a Python script I wrote at work. And in case you don't know, the reason you want a nice log writing system is if something breaks or if something goes wrong, you can go back and see, hopefully, if you log things correctly, what happened before it broke, and maybe that'll give you an answer as to what you can do differently in the future, or if someone entered something wrong and it picked up that information, it broke the script, you have a record of that. Or maybe logging is really good in the case of just making sure stuff runs correctly along the way. Like every time you get an output, maybe you'll log it because you're not always going to be around when the script runs. Whatever your case may be, this is going to hopefully suit your needs. It's pretty simple. You might want to make it a little more advanced in the future. Maybe you'll have different log types like an error or a warning or just like a normal log message. You might want to differentiate that somehow. But for me, I'm just going to put everything as the same log message and make it pretty simple. Oh, and if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe. You never know what kind of videos and content I'm going to make. And usually if I just learn something, I like to share it on here. And not only does that help me learn it even more, hopefully you can benefit from it too. And let's just get on with it. I'm going to open VS Code here. I got a new directory that I created. I called it like Python logger or something like that, yeah. And let's just create two new Python files. So the first one I'm going to call main.py. This is where we're going to call our logger to show it off. And then another file here called logger.py. And then our logger.py, we're just going to define a function called write_log. And we're going to pass something into this function, and it's going to be what kind of message do we want to store in this log. Okay, so the first thing you want to consider is where's the location of this log file, or text file is really what I'm writing to. So you can be something like C, maybe you have a temp directory and you can call it like log.txt. But for me, I'm just going to make it relative to wherever this logger.py is and say /log.txt. So it'll be in the same directory as wherever logger.py is. But obviously feel free to change that to be wherever you need it. And then we're going to use the with. And the reason we're going to use with is we're going to call this open. And the first parameter is location and then the type of text mode. So there can be write, which is W, I believe. You might want to go double check me, but A is what we're going to use for append. So it's not going to overwrite each time it's opening this file. Because if you use write, it's just going to overwrite. But append is going to append it at the end of the text file. So that's why we're going to use append and then as and give it some kind of name. So I'm just going to call it writer. And the reason we're using with is if we didn't use with, at the very end, it's good practice to go ahead and close that file. But if we use with, whenever it leaves this block of code, it'll actually close that for us. So we don't have to worry about, oh, did we keep it open by mistake? Or, have to worry about that down the road. It'll just do it for us. And then pretty easily, we just say writer.write lines and then pass in a string. So I'm going to make it a format string by putting an F at the front and then inside of that putting message and then at the very end, so the backslash, N. Cool. So let's test this out and make sure it works. So I'm going to go to main.py now and we're going to say import logger and then logger.write_log and we'll pass in, hey, does this work? So let's go ahead and run this. I'll say, yeah, I trust this. I hope. Py main. And now you can see in our Explorer over here, we have a new log.txt. If I open it, what's the first line? It's, hey, does this work? But there's an element to log files that's also important just beside the actual message, and that is some kind of timestamp, because if you don't have a timestamp, this could have been logged, a year ago, for all you know, or this could have been logged 5 minutes ago. And when you're narrowing down when something could have occurred, that's when a timestamp becomes pretty useful. So let's go back to our logger.py. I'm actually going to delete this log.txt, and we'll go ahead and import datetime into our logger.py. And I'm going to make another variable called time, and that's going to be equal to datetime dot_now. So before our message and our write lines, I'm going to then put in curly braces time, and then colon, and then message. This is how I like to format things. I like to put the timestamp, colon, and then a space. I don't know what happened there. And then a space, and then the message. You can obviously format it however you want. If you want a dash or something, you can feel free to do that. I'm going to keep it with the colon. And now let's go look at what this looks like. So I ran it. Let's go look at this. And this gives us a timestamp formatted all the way down to this degree of second. I don't know what that is. But I'm going to take this a step farther. I actually don't like how this is displayed. I don't like the format of this too much. So I'm going back to our logger, and we're going to format that time a little bit differently. So instead of just putting time right here, I'm going to do time dot string format time, which is a method. And here we can add the format of which we want this to look like. So in my case, I want to show the date, or no, I actually want to show the month first. So it'd be %m slash %day slash % Y for year, and then space, we'll do %h for hour, %M for minute, and %S for second. And it didn't like that I was using double quotes, so I changed it to single quotes. And now if we run it, we can go ahead and look at the log file, and now it's formatted like this. And this is what I prefer. Just like I've said it before, you can format it however you like, or whatever is useful to you. So now we can show a use case. So I'm going to put a try except block here. And what this is going to do, whenever something in the try block is not able to be run, or it errors out, it'll run whatever's in the except block. So in our case, let's just say the sum is going to be equal to 2 plus the letter S. And this is going to throw an exception because we can't add a number and a character unless the number is converted to a string, right? So here in the except, we can say logger.writeLog, and we can put a message like an error occurred when adding, or whatever kind of message you think is going to be useful to you. And now if we run this, notice we don't get an error down here because we ran it in a try block. But if we go ahead and look at the log, we see an error occurred when adding because it did indeed fail here, and it ran whatever was here, and whatever's here is us writing to a log file. So that's how I created my simple logger at work. Like I said, maybe you want to pass in like a severity. How severe is this log? Maybe it's an error, maybe it's a warning, maybe it's just a log message. It's a simple log message saying the script started or the script's ending, something like that. And then maybe at the very front you want to put what's the severity or something like that. Whatever makes sense to you. But to me, I just like to keep it simple, and that's what I thought I would share with you guys. So hopefully you found this useful. If so, feel free to subscribe and follow along with whatever else I decide to make in the future. And I hope to see you in the next video.